Hi again, everybody. My name is Greg Anderson, and this is the Good Timekeeping Show with Greg Anderson. So here you see some watches that you can get for pretty cheap at places like Walmart or online. So you can get these for about $20 each. In fact, this one, I think some places $18 for this one. This is the W96H, and it's available in different colors. Here's one of them, and there's also like a green and a blue, and it's just, you know, a little bit different bezel there. But otherwise, it's the same watch. This one here is the W96H, and it's a little bit different. But I did the same modification on this watch as I did on this watch. And while this one turned out to be just exactly the same as it was, but it had a countdown timer mode added to it, this one lost a little bit off of the LCD screen. Right here where those two little markers are, it should say next to that, signal, alarm, snooze, like it does over here, but that part of the LCD went missing after I did the modification. If I do the LCD test, it's still there. The LCD works, but for some reason it just doesn't work, you know, in full operation mode. So that's why I'm a little disappointed with how this one turned out, but I think this one will be just fine if I follow the steps I did with this one here. And instead of going from alarm to stopwatch when I change modes, it will go, you know, it'll have the alarm, then timer, then stopwatch. And so I'm going to do the modification on this watch. I've already done it once before, but I'm just going to see if I'm any better at doing it now that I've done it once before. So let's get to it. So first thing I'm going to do is pretend I'm changing the battery, and there are 4 little screws that hold the case back on. So it doesn't take too much effort or too much expertise, just the right tool, tiny screwdriver, to get these 4 screws off. And we'll get down in there into the module, which is where we need to be in order to activate the countdown timer mode. Okay, so those 4 screws are loose now. I can just remove the back of the case here. And there's our module. I'm going to unhook this clasp that's keeping the battery connected there. And I'm going to remove the battery for this process, just so I don't want any power running through this the circuit board or any part of this watch while I'm doing a modification. Okay, so if I just pop that there. Okay, then that battery will be available. I'll just kind of slide that out. There's a sticker on here that is holding that battery in place a little bit. So just release it from the sticker. And there we go. It's the CR2025 lithium battery, which in this watch, normal operation, should last about 10 years before you need to replace that. Okay, now that that's out, I'm going to just lift the movement out of the case. And now there are just these little clips around the edge of the movement, and I'm going to pry those loose with a small screwdriver so that we can split the movement open and see what's inside. So for this particular modification, I need to just take the parts of the movement apart, top and bottom. Okay, take this part and just set that aside. Try not to disturb anything that's in there. And then here on this part, what I want to do is remove a little dab of solder that's right there. And I suppose ideally I would have, you know, a tiny, tiny soldering tip that I could use to just kind of melt that solder and take it away. But instead I'm going to scrape it away with like this little knife here. So I've done this before. Let's see how well it works this time. All right, so I think I've done an adequate job of just scraping off that little dab of solder there, which opens up an electrical connection. So when there's a jumper there, then there's no countdown timer on this, but you remove that little jumper, that little piece of solder, and then you do have a countdown timer on this watch. So what I'm going to do now is we're going to just line these up and put the halves of this module back together. Just kind of snap it all together the way it was. Okay, that was just a little bit tricky. I had to take it off camera just so I could see a little bit better. But now I'm going to snap this back on, secure the battery in place. And as I look around the front, yes, it is running. But just to be sure I've got it the right way, I'm going to do this all clear thing that Casio wants you to do. There's a spot right there where it says AC for all clear, and just next to it you can see right there, there's kind of a little conductive, almost copper colored thing down there. So what you need to do is make an electrical connection between what's down at the bottom of that hole and this part here where it actually says AC. So I'm going to just bridge that with, let's just use these tweezers here, and that will bridge that electrical connection. And when I do that, turn it around, you can see that it restarted at 12 o'clock. So now that that's that way, all right, apparently I didn't scrape off quite enough of that little blob of solder, but now I try this again, and I do have the countdown timer function. Okay, so let me put this back in the case, and we'll try this out. Okay, as always, I recommend when you're putting those screws back in, just make them snug. You don't have to be super tight, but there you go. So now it's all put back together. Let's try it. Okay, alarm, timer, and the stopwatch and dual time mode. So, okay, we're good to go. All right, my friends, before I can call this video complete, I do need to point out something which a viewer pointed out to me in a comment on one of my other videos. I've done the countdown mod on each of these watches, so now they each have countdown timers that they didn't have when I first got them. This countdown timer can be a one-time only thing, or you can set it to auto repeat mode. So, for example, let me just advance these all to the countdown timer mode, and I've set them all to 1 minute, okay? So, this one here in particular, this is the W96H. So I was disappointed that when I did the mod on this one, some of the items that were on the screen disappeared. So for example, specifically, let's go to here and I'll do the test screen. You see where it's got those lines there, and right there where it says signal, alarm, and snooze. Those now disappear in normal functions on this watch. You don't see those anymore. However, when it's in the auto repeat mode, and let me just stop this and show you how that's done. If I act like I'm going to set the timer, okay, and things start to blink here. Here we go. Okay, blinking. So obviously I can set the hours and I can set the minutes doing that. But if I push the light button while this is blinking, you see that, whoa, those things reappeared. The lines and that. Now, unfortunately, they only appear when you're in the timer mode. If you go to any other mode, they disappear again. But when you get to the timer mode, they're there. And when they are there, that means it is an auto repeat timer now. So that's how you can tell in this one that you've enabled auto repeat or you've disabled auto repeat by whether or not those extra lines and those little abbreviations are there. So right now it's in auto repeat mode. I set it for 1 minute. So when it gets to the end of 1 minute, it will beep, but it will also immediately start over and count down another minute. And it'll just keep doing that indefinitely until you make it stop. So you can have that for 1 minute. You can have it for, you know, any other number of minutes all the way up to a full 24 hours and have it just repeat every time it goes. A lot of people like that. So this is how you know for sure you're in that mode. And well, we'll just wait a second here and we'll prove it to you that it is auto repeat mode, and we'll get a nice clear view as it gets down. Will it really be auto repeat? I mean, I know a lot of people who really love to have a timer that's auto repeat. Most G-Shocks don't do the auto repeat countdown timer, but look at that. It's beeping and it already started over to do another minute. So that's how you can confirm that yes, it is in auto repeat mode. And of course on this watch you can also confirm that simply by it has those extra lines there that it normally should have that are disabled in the other modes. Okay, now with these other watches, these can also be auto repeat However, and you set it up the same way. So like right here, I would pretend I'm trying to set some other duration, but instead I just press the light button and nothing happened that you can see on screen, but I did enable auto repeat. So that's the disadvantage of having this mod on this watch here or one of these W800 watches. You see, I've enabled auto repeat, but you don't know that unless you've tested it, right? So if you're the type of person who normally likes to keep your watch in an auto repeat timer mode, then you're done. Or if you like to keep it not in auto repeat mode, you're done here. But if you like to often switch that back and forth, sometimes have auto repeat and sometimes not, then you may find it a little frustrating to try and figure that out. That's why I set it to the minimum of 1 minute. So it would only take 1 minute to figure out whether or not these are on auto repeat. So let's just take a quick look here and see what happens. Automatic repeating here on, okay, this one should be auto repeat and this one not. So just testing this out. And okay, there it goes. Auto repeating on this one. And this one here, let's see what happens. When it gets down to 0, it should just stop. And we'll just confirm that that's happening. Yeah, so that one did not repeat, just stopped. So again, if I wanted to change the mode on this one and put it in auto repeat, okay, it's standing by to do another minute, but it didn't start itself on that. I push the button, make things blink as though I'm going to reset the duration, and instead I tap the light button, and now it's in auto repeat, even though, as I said, there's no indication otherwise that it's in auto repeat mode. And I suppose that's one of the dangers, if you will, of doing these unauthorized and undocumented, and I would say uncharted mods on these watches, is that since there's no authorized instructions on how to do this, you also don't know what you may or may not be changing in addition to whatever someone told you that this would do. So again, auto repeat, it doesn't tell you it can do that, and it's a little awkward trying to confirm that it is or is not in that mode. And that's just a risk you take when you do these kinds of mods. But anyway, I just really wanted everyone to know that auto repeat is available on all of these watches if you've done the mod, and a lot of people will be happy to know that that's there. And these are such affordable, some would even say cheap watches, and to have that extra timer function with auto repeat option on there, that's a great thing to be able to add to this for just a little bit of the hassle you saw me doing when I did that to these watches. And with that, I'm going to say, well, that's about all for now, and I hope you will join me again for more episodes of The Good Timekeeping Show.